Good evening, my name is Litia and I'm from the beautiful island of Laos and I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks.
My name is Casey, I'm from Tabua. We love Today FM in Tabua. Today FM rocks.
My name is Selina, I'm from Tauvenga-Vengamba. I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Pula, my name is Carlo. I love listening to the music in Today FM, in Malak Island. Today FM rock.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
In the news tonight, massive tax change announced in budget. Education accounts for 22% of budget. And major changes PSV permit holders.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
The total expenditure for the 2017-2018 national budget stands at $4.357 billion, with a total projected revenue of $3.85 billion. This translates into a net deficit of $499.5 million, equivalent to 4.5% of GDP. However, the main highlight of this year's budget is the huge increase in the tax threshold that aims to stimulate the economy even further. Rachel Nath with the details.
It's a people's budget, one that pushes forward tax reforms and wage rise to get the country moving forward. In an unprecedented move, now all Fijians earning up to $30,000 will no longer pay any income tax, as the tax threshold has been increased from $16,000 to $30,000.
About 80,000 people in Fiji who are employed formally will no longer actually have to pay income tax at all.
This initiative will lead to higher consumer spending and more movement of money in the economy. Also, the environmental levy, now known as Environmental and Climate Adaptation Levy, or ECAL, has increased from 6% to 10%, while the service turnover tax has been reduced from 10% to 6%. Under ECAL, Fiji for the first time is seriously tackling the huge environmental problems of plastic bags. Now every plastic bag will be charged a 10-cent levy. A number of transportation duty reductions were also announced in favor of bus and taxi operators to ease our public transportation problems. The zero physical and import exercise duty on the importation of new hybrid vehicles will continue. A physical importation duty on second-hand hybrid cars for taxi buses has been reduced to half. This applies to taxi operators who have only one taxi. Also, the importation of new non-hybrid vehicles suitable for taxi operations will attract a 5% physical duty and zero exercise import. As for bus duties, a physical import and exercise duty on new buses has reduced to zero for a period of 2 years. Employers who provide medical insurance for their employees will be exempt from paying fringe benefit tax. Also, as expected, tax on cigarettes, tobacco and alcohol will increase by 15%. Sweetened and carbonated drinks has attracted tax of 15%. This is rising from 30 cents per litre to 35 cents per litre. Another important announcement is the exemption of tax from all dividend income.
Taxation of dividends, currently at 3% for residents and 9% for non-residents, has been abolished to encourage investment.
The 2017-2018 national budget has a lot of benefits which have direct impacts to our pockets. The economy minister in his delivery pointed out our debt to GDP has reduced drastically than compared to the projected value in our last financial year. With wide-ranging and significant wage increases for general civil servants, teachers, nurses and the police, the government believes the 2017-2018 budget has all the right ingredients to stimulate the economy, create jobs, improve services and in general make life much easier for all Fijians. Rachel Nath, FBC News.
An additional 200 nurses and 350 doctors will help provide efficient and effective medical services. The Health and Medical Services Ministry has received a sum of $321.2 million. The increase of $77.2 million is mainly attributed to increase in recruitment of nurses, doctors and ancillary workers. Special recognitions were announced for specialist nurses last night.
Those who work in areas of higher risk and therefore require higher qualifications, training and application of skill on the job. From August, Madam Speaker, these nurses will be recognized through the creation of 800 specialist nursing positions, attracting salaries of up to a 25% increase above the general nursing positions. These include the specialization of coronary care specialists, intensive care specialists and midwives, to name just a few. We'd also like to mention, Madam Speaker, the valued nurse practitioners have been recognized through this process. This very special group of nurses will receive salary increases of up to 74% in recognition of the special role they perform in the care of our citizens, particularly in the rural and remote areas.
We need human resources as we continue to expand our services. We continue to see new specialist services being developed, the expansion of our existing services, the expansion of opening hours in our health centers. I believe these 200 should address that and respond to human resource needs of the nursing fraternity.
The Fiji Police Force has been given an overall increase in salary of $15.5 million. These base salary increases range from 11.5% to 20.5%.
Job evaluation exercises were carried out for the correction services, the Fiji Military Forces and the Fiji Police Force. But the changes have not been implemented yet for the Fiji Police Force. The RFMF and the Fiji Correction Services had the JEE fully implemented. The evaluation for the Police Force, Madam Speaker, will now be fully implemented from 1st of August 2017.
Meanwhile, $150,000 has been allocated to strengthen the capacity of the Fiji Police Force to conduct more internal police investigations. The force got an overall budget of $148.8 million, an increase of $17 million.
Police Force also needs to maintain high standards of behavior and adherence to procedure. The public needs to understand that the people who enforce the law will be subject to the law also.
Prime Minister Vurenge Bainimarama says the 2017-2018 national budget is no different from the previous years. Bainimarama welcomed the major announcements made in regards to the wages and salaries of those working in the civil service. A job evaluation was undertaken since April this year, which has confirmed the band for each position. The band now determines the salaries for each position.
You must admit it's been an exciting budget, especially for civil servants. I think there are a lot of happy civil servants around Fiji right now.
Bainimarama says allocations made for the education sector and the women's ministry is also welcoming.
I think it's the one to do with our youth, to do with education, the education budget, the increase in allowances for our women, and the vulnerable in our society, handicapped people that have been given additional allowance from our social welfare programs. I think that's what has made this budget exciting for me.
Bainimarama says they have also emphasized on rural roads and the health sector in the new budget.
With the increase in number of nurses and doctors, that's also been outstanding for a long time. And we need specialists in those areas, and those are the ones that we're targeting.
The education sector accounts for 22% of the total national budget. The sector has been allocated $964.5 million, of which $490 million will be allocated to the Education Ministry. Ritika Pratap reports.
Education Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says they're excited about the budget allocation as it will further consolidate with what they are doing.
It's a recognition that we want every child in this country not to be left behind. We want to go to them, we want to respond to their aptitude, respond to their needs.
$5.55 million has been allocated to recruit 250 additional teachers, 200 for primary schools and 50 for secondary schools.
First thing we want to do is to ensure that the 80 schools which has 4 teachers, we give them one more teacher, so that will free up the head teacher. So that will happen immediately in August, while the other new recruitment will take place in January. Now for high school, we've got 50 teachers, so this 50 will go towards providing teachers to the new schools that we are establishing in Tadirua, in Mangondro, and there's one in Ra that we're looking at.
Dr. Reddy says the teachers play an important role in education and the increment in salary will be welcomed.
Our teachers who are getting, let's say, 23,000, the 8G teachers, they'll be getting around 26,000, 27,000. But not only that, they will also don't have to pay any taxes now. And thirdly, they will be having more money deposited in the FNPF account through superannuation contribution.
Major changes have also been announced for the tertiary education loan scheme. The total funding for TELS, the National Toppers Scheme, and other scholarships has increased to $196 million.
Ensure that we meet the changing scenario of students' demands. For example, allowances needs to be increased. Students who are failing one or two units because of some reason, at the moment they were required to repeat using their own money. We're going to now allow them to dip into the fund. Students who after 1 year would want to change their majors completely, we're now allowing them to take on these new majors without having to fund it on their own.
The government has allocated $170 million to rebuild and repair Tropical Cyclone Winston damaged schools. $10.6 million has been allocated under the ministry as building grants. Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation Chief Executive Nesbitt Hazelman has welcomed this allocation.
The unprecedented increase in education, the Ministry of Education and their budget up to just over 900 million is something unprecedented in this country. And I think Fiji is taking cue of what Singapore did when they developed their economy. They spent a lot of money in educating their youth. So I think that is a very good move on the part of the government. I think we have a well-educated, skilled, highly skilled workforce that would drive us into the future.
The Fiji National University has been provided an operating grant of $56.1 million. USP receives an operating grant of $30.7 million and $3.4 million has been given to the University of Fiji. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
The Ministry of Sugar has been provided a budget of around $60 million, almost double from the previous budget. The fertilizer subsidy has been increased from $14.09 to $25.59 per 50 kg of bag at a cost of $15.4 million, an increase of nearly $6 million. Syed Kayum says with this assistance, farmers will only pay $20 a bag compared to $31.50 that they are currently paying. For the first time, the government is allocating $6.3 million to subsidize the cost of products to control weeds and raise cane yield.
I'm very excited about the budget. I think the government of today has delivered a very solid commitment, and it's through the budget has demonstrated the real things that needs to be targeted for the growers. So I believe it is really looking at cost for the growers. As you know, that FSC strategy is about reducing the cost, and there is a lot of effort being put and a lot of money to directly benefit the growers. So it's a very exciting time for the sugar industry.
The Agriculture Ministry will be looking at reducing imports and increasing its contribution to the economy. The ministry has received an increased budget of $86.3 million. Minister Nia Seruratu says they will concentrate on food security, livestock and the crop sector. Seruratu says they will continue with the development of rural areas.
So government is creating the environment again and is continuing to build on the investments and the projects from previous years, and of course the 2017-18 budget will take this to another level, and I'm thankful for the allocation.
And there is good news for the public service vehicle permit holders, as their permits will now be valid for a longer period. Special concessions have been announced to improve the quality of public service vehicles and provide them security so they can make long-term plans. The freeze on new taxi permits has also been lifted. Anthony Suliana reports.
All current public service vehicle permit holders will automatically get a 10-year permit from the 1st of October.
Permits for taxis, hire cars, rentals, minibuses and carriers will now be renewed for 10 years instead of the current 3. Road route licenses for buses or omnibuses, the big buses, will now be renewed for 15 years instead of the current 5 to 10 years. And rental car companies no longer have to get approval from LTA simply to increase the size of their fleets.
The announcement has given relief to many operators.
I think it's a very good idea, and I think taxi drivers can save some money, and it's really good for them actually, good for the taxi drivers. As I am a taxi driver, I think it's a very good thing.
There's less hassle now. That will be good for them.
Well, I think it's a great plan by the government because it saves our cost and our time. Rather than we running every 3 years now, it will save our time eventually.
The minister says this initiative will create an added value for permit holders and create interest from the mainstream financial institutions to lend an attractive interest rates.
Currently, bus companies borrow money at 18%, at 12%. To further assist the small operators, Madam Speaker, the Reserve Bank of Fiji has increased the funding available under the Import Substitution Export Finance Facility to $100 million to provide concessionary funding for public transportation. RBF will lend to mainstream banks at 1%, and these banks will not charge more than 5% to these operators for their loans. This subsidized loan facility will be available to bus companies which have an annual gross turnover of less than $1.5 million, or to those operators who own only one taxi, minibus or carrier.
The PSV operators will have to adhere to a new service standard charter to take their service delivery to a new level.
However, any breaches to the charter will lead to possible cancellation of these permits. These licenses and permits will now be transferable, which means the holders can sell their permits for a profit. We'll also lift the freeze on taxi, minibus and carrier permits from 1 January 2018. Priority and consideration will be given to applications received during the freeze period. Many people have been waiting for years for the chance to obtain a taxi license, and we want to give the priority to those who have applied since the freeze began.
A certain criteria needs to be followed to acquire a new permit. The applicant's income must be below $20,000 and they should not already own a taxi permit or a taxi, minibus or a carrier business. A quota system will be followed as permits will be given based on the population of an area. Anthony Suliana, FBC News.
Opposition leader Rotemu Mukepa says the 2017-2018 national budget is a vote-buying campaign. Rotemu says the special initiatives announced, especially the pay rise of civil servants, should have been included in the previous budget.
We all know that next year is the year of the general elections, in which the government is hoping to come back into government, and this is a budget designed to win over the voters for the general elections next year for Fiji First.
Is there election next year? How does she know? She doesn't know anything. She doesn't realize, she doesn't know what she's talking about when she's talking about the election budget.
Still to come, national minimum wage increase to $2.68. And hundreds take part in National Sports Day. Details after the break.
Nimbula vinaka na yavangunga andi moala ranalika o tikonga na tau na singatoka ando talitaka na wakaronga ng Bula FM nambandua na sere.
Yado rasu buli kurnambili iborani batsukara hambara binaranga do talitakina na wakaronga ng Bula FM nambandua na sere. Bula!
Bula FM nambandua na sere.
The Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation Chief Executive Nesbitt Hazelman says the government has taken a cautious approach on the national minimum wage rate. The wage rate has been increased from $2.32 to $2.68. Hazelman says we need to create an economy that provides employment to every Fijian.
We must be mindful that minimum wage is only for the unskilled. With the increased budget in education, it will entice those in the unskilled area to be educated. Gain a skill, gain a trade, move into the formal sector. So I hope this all falls in train when moving people out of the informal sector to the formal sector. So the minimum wage of $2.68, I think we had expected that.
Government will keep a close tab on supermarkets around the country in a bid to safeguard all Fijians. This after it was revealed in the National Budget Address that a major supermarket chain recently was fined a total of $53 million for non-compliance of tax. Minister for Economy Aya Said Kayum says many supermarkets were defrauding the government and the people of Fiji.
They've set up buying houses offshore. So they buy products overseas through these companies of theirs they set up offshore and sell goods to themselves. So effectively, they buy an item twice and try to claim their markup is less than it is. They over-invoice and shift their profits, Madam Speaker. Their greed is pricing many Fijians out of the market for things they should be able to afford. This will not continue, and we want to assure all Fijians that we will have a fair and competitive market.
The minister says the Commerce Commission and FIRCA will work together to keep tabs on monopolistic companies and companies working in cartels who sell goods at prices which cannot be afforded by Fijians. Local Government and Housing Minister Pravin Bala says the budget is a win-win situation for all Fijians. The ministry has been allocated $33.9 million, of which $6.6 million is for operating expenditure and $27.1 million for capital expenditure. This is an increase of $18.4 million. The ministry will undertake new initiatives and construct roadside mini-markets in 8 locations. Minister Bala says they are happy with their allocation.
All this allocation that has been given to our ministry is based on the submission that we made to Ministry for Economy during our consultation period. And I'm happy to say that whatever we have asked for has been given. So it's now time for us to deliver.
A new ministry, the Waterways, has been established in a bid to address the growing threat that flooding poses. The Waterways Ministry is responsible for the maintenance of drainage systems and management of waterways throughout the country. This is inclusive of creeks and rivers in rural and urban communities. The Fijian government believes that this issue is expected to worsen due to the effects of climate change. The ministry received $24.2 million under the 2017-2018 national budget. Fisheries Minister Semi Koroila-Vesau has outlined 3 key areas his ministry will be focusing on in the new financial year. For the first time, the ministry has received the budget as an independent ministry. The ministry has been allocated $18.8 million. Koroila-Vesau says they will be establishing inshore fisheries divisions that will run together with offshore division. He says they will increase their capabilities in surveillance areas.
Development of aquaculture, which is basically an import substitution that we need to do. Basically, we're importing around about 20 million worth of prawns and other seafood. I think if we manage our resources well, we will be able to make some inroad into replacing those import and have that as an import substitution.
In light of the positive work carried out by the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism, an allocation of $108.4 million has been made. Minister Fayaz Koya says this allocation reflects the submission made by his ministry. The ministry's allocation is an increase of $21.5 million. Koya says the funds will be used for new initiatives such as the Young Entrepreneurship Scheme, the Wairambitia Economic Zone and continuing initiatives.
It just means we have to deliver. And I think civil servants being paid even better, they all know that they have to deliver.
Meanwhile, Tourism Fiji received an increased marketing grant of over $33 million. Fiji Hotel and Tourism Association President Dixon Sito says he's welcomed the budget.
You know, we were also hoping for some of the incentives to be improved or brought back for the tourism industry. Maybe we can look at that a bit later.
Water Authority of Fiji Chief Executive Opeta Ravai says the allocation for their entity clearly reflects government's seriousness towards improving an infrastructure critical to delivering basic clean water and sanitation services to all Fijians. The authority has been allocated over $306 million. A number of projects for water and wastewater reticulation systems and providing access to safe drinking water will be carried out in the new financial year. Funds will also be used to upgrade WAF's facilities.
It comes out very clearly that the government is very sensitive to the needs of the people. And I think it's come out of the consultations that they've conducted prior to this budget announcement, which is good. They've gone out there and spoken to the people on the ground. And obviously, we've also been involved in government roadshows.
The Social and Democratic Liberal Party members have been reminded to understand the current electoral process. The party held its annual general meeting in Suva this morning. SODELPA President Ratunaingama Lalambalavu says members need to know the electoral processes well before the 2018 elections.
Doesn't matter if we talk a lot or even more party members registered for the general election. We can only access 27 seats. So what is needed in this meeting is to discuss ways that can pave the way forward towards the general elections.
Our national champion against non-communicable diseases is calling on everyone to value sports and physical activity to help reshape our health status. President Major General retired Chiochi Konrote says a special day has been dedicated to promote wellness in the country and Fijians must commit to staying healthy. Pranita Prakash reports.
Hundreds of people took part in various sports activities at Suva's Albert Park today. The sports day also became a family affair.
Like annual event, and it's an enjoyable event for the citizens of Fiji.
It's good. They are developing more sports. That's encouraging to all the youths and students.
With the family, we'll spend the whole day today.
The president says the individual Fijians should take ownership of their health.
For the past years, government has steadily increased its animal health budget to meet increasing health demands from members of the public. What all Fijians should do now is to participate collectively to address our health concerns.
Non-communicable diseases puts a burden on our families, our society and our economy as a whole. We need to promote our common goal of creating a healthy nation and take ownership of our health. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Up ahead in sports, Sports Ministry received $6.7 million more. And McKee re-signs with FRU. This and more coming up.
I'm another Sorokro of Nayabu Wenbuga Telebu. Whenever I want to tune in to listen to great music, I always tune in to my favorite radio station, Gold FM, only the classic.
My name is Lita. We love listening to Gold FM here at the Fiji Hideaway Resort and Spa. Gold FM, only the classic hits.
We here at Tano Waterfront Lautoka love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
The Ministry of Youth and Sports received a total of $29.2 million in the new budget. In the new financial year, major emphasis will be put on hiring new coaches, hosting international tournaments and sending our athletes to compete overseas. Vaishnav Prasad reports.
The Youth and Sports Ministry has received an extra $6.7 million in the national budget. Of this amount, the Fiji National Sports Commission will use $9 million for 3 major programs.
First, we will continue to fund the engagement of international coaches to improve our competitiveness. We'll also help our national teams participate in 38 international competitions, including the 2017 Rugby League World Cup, the 2018 Commonwealth Games, and the Pacific Mini Games in Papua New Guinea. And we will also host international tournaments in Fiji, including the Oceania Men's and Women's Sevens Tournament, 2017 World Cadet Table Tennis Challenge, the Junior Pan-Pacific Games in swimming, and the Fijian Rugby 15 team international matches.
Minister Laisenia Tuitombo is impressed with the allocations.
Just in a nutshell, I would like to see that we have seen the results for the past years. We thank the government for that, and having the confidence on sports. On the budget, we see that the government has confidence on sports.
$1 million has been given to build a new indoor sporting facility at Churchill Park in Lautoka.
We are developing in the rural areas. We call it a rural playing field, and we develop in the urban areas too.
Meanwhile, the Fiji Rugby Union has also appreciated the government's involvement in supporting the Flying Fijians for more test matches.
We're forever thankful to the financial support that comes from government coffers. We continuing to talk with World Rugby.
Apart from rugby, a lot of minor sports will also benefit from the funding allocated to the Sports Ministry. Vaishnav Prasad, FBC Sports.
The Fiji Rugby Union has renewed the contract of Vodafone Flying Fijians coach John McKee until the 2019 World Cup. Chair Commander Francis Keane says McKee's contract with FRU is in the best interest of Fiji Rugby, and this will ensure continuity and build confidence in players. Vaishnav Prasad reports.
Coach John McKee will stay for another 2 years.
On behalf of the Fiji Rugby Union Board and the Chief Executive Officer of the Fiji Rugby Union, members of the FRU Council and our President, to announce the confirmation of Mr. John McKee as the Vodafone Fiji Flying Fijians coach that will be taking us up to the Rugby World Cup.
McKee had joined FRU in 2013 and his contract expired earlier this year.
My thanks to the Fiji Rugby Union for putting their faith in me and believing that I have the plans to take Fiji rugby forward, and particularly for the Flying Fijians towards Rugby World Cup.
Fiji Rugby Union Chair Commander Francis Skin says they always had trust in Maki, which is reflected in his performance.
Paves a very good pathway for the Flying Fijians, and also in helping John put together a formidable side, not only for these 2 matches but beyond these 2 matches.
The man who lifted the standard of the Flying Fijian believes he has a long-term goal leading the pack to the 2019 World Cup. But for now, Maki's focus is qualifying to the World Cup as Oceania won.
I'm confident with the group of players we've got, with the work the players have done as a group in the lead up through the June Test series and that build up that we've had, that we're in a very good position to perform.
Fiji kicks off its World Cup qualifiers campaign against Tonga next Saturday. Vashnil Prasad, FBC Sports.
Meanwhile, in the Lone Skipper Cup match today, Naitasiri beat Malolo 28-24 and has qualified for the home semi-final. The Lautoka football side has extended its lead on the Vodafone Premier League table after beating Bar 2-1 at Churchill Park last night. Zibraz Sahib and Ose Vakatalesau scored in the extra time of the second half as Lautoka came from a goal down to win the match. Here are the highlights.
Goalkeeper Ben Aminio slowly, and he brings down Samuel Anambenia. And the penalty to come. Naren Rao for the Bar side. Naren comes in, places it, and has put Bar up by 1 goal to 0. Drives and straight into the net, and no one wanted it. Flicks it up high into the air, and header through by Jose Vakatalesau.
Boxer Winston Hill won silver medal at the Oceania Championships after losing out to Australia's Andrew Hunt. Winston lost on points in the finals of the championship. He was knocked down for the first time ever in the first round, but was able to come back and dominated the second round. Meanwhile, Winston has qualified for the World Championship in Germany next month. Germany football has qualified to Confederation Cup final after beating Mexico 4-1 in Russia. The world champions will play Chile in the final. Fine and cool weather conditions prevailed over the country today. A trough of low pressure lies slow moving over Solomon Islands and extends southeastwards over Rotuma and further southeast over the southern Cooks. In the west, it was fine with cloudy conditions. Temperatures remained in the late 20s. Eastwards from Pack Harbour, another cloudy day. Temperatures in Suva dropped to 25 degrees. And up in Vanuatu, Lambasa was hot at 30 degrees, while temperatures in Savu dipped to 30 degrees. At sea, southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, with gusts up to 35 knots. Rough seas, moderate southerly swells. And for the tides, high tide will be at 12:38 tomorrow, with a low tide at 6:34. Sunrise will be at 6:38. For tomorrow, it's fine apart from brief showers in the larger islands, cool at night. And our outlook for Sunday, brief showers over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands, fine elsewhere, cool at night. Recapping the main stories for tonight, a massive tax change announced in budget. Education accounts for 22% of budget and major changes for PSV permit holders. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question this week, we are asking, should World Rugby bring more Tier 1 teams for tests against the Flying Fijians? Visit our FBC website to answer. Send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page FBC News. Or you can also follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC_news or simply hashtag FBC News. Until next time, from the team and I, have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Bye for now.
My name is Litia and I'm from the beautiful island of Laos and I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rock.
My name is Casey. I'm from Tavua. We love Today FM in Tavua. Today FM rocks.
My name is Selina. I'm from Tavenga-Vengamba. I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Pula. My name is Carlo. I love listening to the music in Today FM in Malak Island. Today FM rock.
Today's hit music on Today FM.